Welcome to a journey into the realm of what if, where we explore a pivotal moment in history. Rain lashes the jungle. Helicopter blades churn the humid air. A young soldier's eyes, half defiance, half exhaustion, stare into the camera. The year is 1968, the height of the Vietnam War. But imagine for a moment that this story had ended differently. What if the United States had won the Vietnam War? The war the US lost defined a generation. But if it had been won, the 20th century, and maybe the 21st, would have looked very different indeed. First, we have to ask, what does winning even mean in Vietnam? Maybe by 1968, Westmoreland's campaign of attrition finally broke the Viet Cong. Or perhaps in 1972, the linebacker bombings forced Hanoi to surrender before Soviet aid could save them. Picture a peace treaty not in Paris, but in Saigon, signed beneath the American flag and the promise of democracy. The Republic of Vietnam survives. Ho Chi Minh's dream fades. Nixon's approval soars. America enters the 1970s triumphant, its confidence unshaken. The Vietnam War didn't just drain blood and treasure, it drained faith. In our world, that loss fractured trust between citizens and their government. But in this alternate history, victory restores belief. Picture 1973, ticker tape parades down Pennsylvania Avenue, generals hailed as heroes, and Hollywood celebrating new American legends. No apocalypse now, no deer hunter, just pride, not doubt. With confidence reborn, the Vietnam syndrome never takes hold. When the Soviets invade Afghanistan, Washington doesn't hesitate, it intervenes directly. The Cold War burns hotter than ever. With victory, America's domino theory becomes reality, but in reverse. South Vietnam's survival studies Laos and Cambodia. The Khmer Rouge never rise. The region evolves into a pro-Western economic bloc, an early version of the Asian tigers. China, witnessing U.S. strength, restrains Mao's revolution. Reform comes early. The Soviet Union, pressured by a confident America, overextends its military might, and by the 1980s, it's Moscow facing a Vietnam of its own. In this world, Saigon never falls. With American aid, it stabilizes and rebuilds. By the 1990s, Saigon becomes a modern powerhouse, a blend of Seoul and Singapore on the Saigon River. American corporations invest heavily. The rice fields of the Mekong Delta give way to electronics and industry. Vietnam becomes a symbol, not of quagmire, but of victory. History is full of what-ifs, but few change as much as this one might have. Had the US won militarily, it likely would have meant even more devastation for Vietnam. The bombing campaigns that already ravaged the North might have expanded, possibly spilling into China, risking a wider war across Southeast Asia. Civilian casualties could have doubled, with entire provinces potentially wiped out, leaving an indelible scar on the landscape and its people. And what if the Vietnamese themselves? A South Vietnamese victory, propped up by American weapons and dollars, would likely require decades of authoritarian rule to suppress communist elements. This democracy might look more like South Korea or Taiwan in the 1970s, orderly, but enforced through martial law and strict political control. The US would have kept troops stationed in Vietnam for decades, as it did in Korea, maintaining a significant military presence to ensure the US would have kept troops stationed in Vietnam for decades, as it did in Korea. Maintaining a significant military presence to ensure stability. Would the American public have tolerated that prolonged commitment? Would victory have aged well once the immense financial and human bills came due? A US victory wouldn't just rewrite politics, it would fundamentally rewrite American culture. No more haunted veterans in American cinema, no Born on the 4th of July, no Rambo, and no powerful protest songs by Dylan or Creedence Clearwater Revival. Even journalism would change. Vietnam taught the press to question power, fostering a new era of investigative reporting. But if Washington's narrative had been proven right, that skepticism might never have taken root, leading to a less critical media landscape. The next wars could unfold with less scrutiny, less truth, and a public less informed about the realities of conflict. And for the soldiers? No bitterness, no trauma, only parades, a hero's welcome, and an unblemished public image. The soldier's image, shaken after Vietnam, would remain untouchable and unquestioned, potentially fostering a different relationship between the military and society. If Vietnam had been won, history's ripple would reach our present, fundamentally altering the geopolitical landscape. Without the sting of 1975, America enters the 1980s stronger, more assertive, with an unyielding confidence in its global power. Reagan's rise might come earlier or never at all, as the political climate would be vastly different. The Cold War could end not through diplomacy, but through collapse, an exhausted USSR crushed by an unshaken superpower, accelerating the end of an era. By the 21st century, a capitalist Vietnam might rival South Korea, a US ally, part of an Asian NATO, profoundly shifting regional dynamics. The Pacific balance shifts dramatically, with US bases already facing China across the South China Sea, creating a new geopolitical chessboard. History's board is rearranged entirely, with unforeseen consequences for global power structures. But hubris comes with victory. Without Vietnam's cautionary wound, America might repeat the same mistakes, emboldened by past success. Invading Iraq or Afghanistan with even greater confidence and even less reflection, potentially leading to prolonged and costly engagements. And that's the paradox of this alternate history. By losing in Vietnam, America learned something painful but essential about limits, ideology, and the enduring power of nationalism. Had it won, it might never have learned restraint, leading to a more aggressive and less introspective foreign policy. The arrogance of victory could have led to disaster, a wider war with China, a bloodier Middle East, even nuclear brinkmanship. Defeat humbled a superpower just enough to survive the Cold War without blowing up the world, forcing a crucial reevaluation of its role. In one timeline, a young soldier in the 1960s jungle sees his country lose, and helicopters rise from Saigon's rooftops in a chaotic retreat. In another, he wins, and the world changes forever, for better or for worse. Maybe the truest measure of history isn't whether we win or lose, but what we learn from both. Because sometimes, the wars we lose teach us more than the wars we win, shaping our future in unexpected ways. What do you think? Would a US victory in Vietnam have made the world stronger or more dangerous? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed exploring this What If history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective helps keep the discussion and history itself alive.